Jeff Slauson here from 19 News Now at the 19 News Digital Desk. I want to start by showing you a look at the skyline at the city of Cleveland because this could very well be the backdrop of a potential new professional soccer team here in the city. Yeah, pretty exciting. Today, the group that has basically been fronting this for years, Cleveland Pro Soccer, has unveiled what a new facility would look like as they attempt to become the 15th franchise for the NWSL, that is the National Women's Soccer League. They would become, again, the 15th franchise. Now, why specifically the NWSL? Well, according to the founders, they believe there is a missed opportunity here for women's sports within the city of Cleveland. In fact, there's NWSL teams in many of the top quote-unquote markets in the U.S., there's not one here. I want to show you what it looks like first, and then we'll get to the interview. Just take a look at how this would be. Now, this would be a 5-minute walk, essentially, southwest of Progressive Field, I-90, that area. It would be just near south of that, and then west of where the train tracks are. There's an open space there that is currently purchased and owned by ODOT that they say they would buy, and then they would build a $130 million stadium, the one that you are seeing right here. So, what exactly will this look like? How will we get to the point where we feel comfortable with it? Let's break it down with the interview that I just did earlier. Very, very fascinating conversation that we had breaking all this down. Michael, if you don't mind, let's just start off with the basics here. The video that was released today, giving people a taste of what it could look like, what it could feel like if there were to be a soccer team here in the city and at least around the area. Explain to everybody kind of the genesis of this idea and where we are as of this video's release.
The genesis of this idea goes back a couple of years to when I became aware that Cleveland was the last top 20 market in the country without professional soccer. And my business partner, Nolan, and I are Clevelanders through and through, and thought that was an endeavor worthy of pursuit to bring pro soccer to Cleveland. So, and just to be succinct, we did a lot of diligence, and in November 22, decided to announce that we're bringing MLS Next Pro on the men's side to Cleveland, Ohio. And at the same time, we said, look, but the bigger get, candidly, would be a women's team in the NWSL. And we're after it, Cleveland, and let's go for it. And, that was December of 22. And we went through a process where we got down to the final 4 out of 82 different groups for an expansion team in 2024. The league loves Cleveland and Northeast Ohio as a market for NWSL because it would be really the only top 20 market in the country where they could go and be the top soccer brand in a town like that. The men's team will be here, but clearly a lower division team. And also, if we're successful, we'll have a facility built for the NWSL. It would be one of 2 in the league, and really notably and important for our region, the very first public-private partnership for a facility that would advance women's sports in this way. So that's where we are right now. We're coming up now on our second bid in this, and having gone through it the first time, we've adjusted a few things, but it's critical that we put forth, a really positive story and give the league a sense that, hey, if we award a team to Cleveland, that yes, there will be a facility built there, and it's going to be built for the women primarily.
You mentioned how it would be a public-private partnership. What would be the breakdown to get that thing built?
So, to be determined is the final answer on that. But the reality is what we've asked for is it's a $150 million stadium, where we've asked essentially the public to pay for 90 million of that, or 60%, and the private team lease would cover the other 40%. But then additionally, though, at the enterprise level, the private investment's about another $133 million. So if you look at this, the whole project of what it takes to bring professional soccer here, it's a stadium, but it's also practice facilities that would be privately funded, the team, the expansion fees, those things as well. So if you look at the whole public-private partnership, it's more of a 68% private, 32% public.
So all of the other ones are entirely private? Is that why this one would be unique?
No, most stadiums in this country are publicly owned or public-private partnerships. Absolutely.
But you had mentioned the first NWSL would be public-private. So
yes.
Why is that different than the other ones?
Well, the other one that happened is in Kansas City right now. It opened this past March to great fanfare. I was actually there on Sunday. It's a fantastic venue that was privately funded by a very wealthy family there, the Long family, who decided to put their money where their mouth was, so to speak, and build this stadium. Kansas City actually already had a soccer stadium that Sporting KC plays in, but they felt it was so important for women's sports and for their club in particular to control its own venue. If you look at the best sports teams in the world and the best sports leagues in the world, they often control their own venues for where their clubs play. And NWSL is young compared to most sports leagues, less than 12 years old now. But they're seeing now an evolution of it's really important to control your own facility, not only for play dates, but for broadcasting. For example, you now have Amazon Prime who's doing a game of the week for NWSL. Well, you want to tell Amazon Prime or ESPN that if you book this game, it's not going to get bumped by anything else.
The thing that's kind of caught my eye more than just a traditional, hey, this is going to be a stadium, has been this idea that it's going to be more than just for one specific sport. Can you touch on how this would become something that's more than just for one team, for one sporting event? This is going to be more than that.
Sure. So, you'd say this is a soccer specific but multi-purpose stadium. And so in terms of pecking order, the women's NWSL team would have clearly the first priority. But then secondarily, our MLS Next Pro team can play there. So now you have home games of two professional soccer teams playing there. And then we'd also open it up for other uses. For example, whether it's collegiate or high school athletics, music concerts, other things like that. For example, Cleveland State's right down the street. They have one of two men's, I'm making this up, not making this up in the sense that it's not real, but we've talked to them and they've expressed some interest. If this got built, it could potentially be used for Cleveland State in the sense of, they have a D1 men's lacrosse team. Every single year they play almost Ohio State, Notre Dame, Air Force, big games, but always on the road. We don't have the right facility to host that here in town. You think about high school football, which is near and dear to all Clevelanders and a pride. There's a lot of high school games out there that can still draw 8, 9, 10, 12,000 fans. This would be a first-rate venue for that type of thing. And then you've got music concerts. Wouldn't it be great to have some concerts, handful of times every summer, coming downtown to Cleveland for that type of venue? Not every show is going to play Rocket Mortgage Fieldhouse indoors or Cleveland Browns Stadium outdoors is a huge facility. And even Progressive Field's pretty big for a lot of acts. And given the baseball schedule, hard to find time to bring music in there. But this would be very manageable. And we've talked to a number of music promoters that say that we're missing this type of inventory in the town and that they would absolutely be able to book some great shows here.
Two questions to follow up on that. One, what is the capacity? And two, where would it be?
Sure. So the capacity that we have designed right now is about 12,500. The idea would be that we would engineer it to expand if demand warranted that, expand in success, so to speak. But you always want to have the facility kind of right sized to from the jump. And given where the attendance is league wide, we think 12.5 is the right number. Again, potentially expandable to 17.5 or something like that. Where it will be, that was the announcement today. We shared some renderings and some graphics. Essentially, it's what I'm calling South Gateway. It is if you went back, you and I held hands and went back in a time machine 30 years ago, South Gateway looks like what Gateway looked like 30 years ago. Vast surface parking lots. And so that's really where it is, just west of the light rail line, east of the Cuyahoga River, and south of the freeway. But really think about it. It's a 5-minute walk from home plate and a 7-minute walk from midcourt. So it's right down there in what we can call Stadium Alley, where Clevelanders have been coming for the last 30 years to enjoy professional sports. It's a great location.
Now, does the ownership group own currently that plot of land, or would that need to be in the process of, as soon as it would be hypothetically approved for the new franchise, then the land would follow?
So we're working with a number of public partners who can acquire that land, because the land is currently owned by ODOT, the Ohio Department of Transportation. And so it has to transfer essentially to a public partner to get this all done. We've made a lot of great strides there and confident that'll get done.
So as far as the actual expansion itself, you had mentioned how there was an attempt previously that didn't go through. What's the timeline like right now? So you have released these renderings. I was looking on the website. It seems like we're on par here. So when do you now go to the NWSL to say, hey, give us another shot?
So the process is really being run by the league, and all they've said publicly at this point is that there will be a team selected this year for the 16th team for the league. Our first application is due within a month, and then they'll probably run a process to winnow that down and decide who they really want to focus on. There's a lot of competition out there, but we feel strongly that Cleveland can win this bid if we put forth a stadium plan that's viable. Because again, to be able to come into a major market, be the top soccer brand in town is unique, and to be able to come in there and actually control your own facility is unique. So while there may be other markets out there in the country that already have stadiums, if the league were to go there, they wouldn't be the primary tenant necessarily. They wouldn't be the primary brand. This is really an opportunity. It's a lot of runway for that league to really thrive here in Cleveland. And
Yeah, very much so a big opportunity and something that we will keep an eye on here at 19 News. All right, that's going to wrap up our coverage here. I want to show one more time the look of those renderings there. It'll play one more time through. As this starts to approach and become more of a reality, we will check in to make sure that if, this is a possibility to potentially have some sort of a stadium there. Obviously, some decisions need to be made, but we will, of course, like I said, keep an eye on it, make sure that we're monitoring it as things progress. For now, I'm Jeff Sloss of 19 News. Have a great day and a great night. We will have much more to come, both on air and online. Of course, 7 o'clock over on the CW, we will have our 7 o'clock news, and then 7:30, we will have your First Alert Weather Show. All right, we'll see everybody coming up in a little bit.
19 News, now streaming on Samsung Smart TV. Search for channel 1035.